Hello and welcome to the number one championship podcast. The second tier, I'm Ryan Dilks, and this is our reaction straight off the back of Middlesbrough going top of the league after a gigantic 2-1 win over Ipswich Town. A cracking game with plenty of action, a lot for us to talk about here tonight. I am, of course, joined by the Cedric Kipre to my Dara O'Shea. It's Justin Peach.
Good day to you, Ryan.
Oh, Justin, we've done a fair few live streams this season. Not every game has been a classic. We've tried to big it up. Well, that's maybe not really giving a great reflection of the game. But this one genuinely was fantastic viewing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like the first 20 minutes, I was expecting it to be more of a chess match throughout. I was like, oh, God, okay, this is not the Friday night game we wanted to come into. But then it just kicked into life. Oh, my goodness. It was carnage. It was chaos. It was goal mouth scrambles. It was end-to-end. It was chance after chance after chance. And in the second half, despite not serving up the same as it was in the sort of the 30th to the 45th minute mark, the second half was still super exciting with some brilliant counter-attacking football on display from Middlesbrough. What a game of football. Honestly, I think it was hands down the most enjoyable game I've watched so far this season. It was brilliant.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
That is big praise from Justin Peach over here. Well, that's something we can talk about very shortly because we have got a lot of action to talk about. But if you're joining us on this live stream tonight on the Second Tier YouTube channel, then please make sure you leave a comment and get involved in the conversation. We'll be reading out as many comments as we can, giving you guys loads of shout outs over the course of the next 20, 30 minutes or so. So let's hear what you've got to say. Let's get your thoughts on the game that has just unfolded before our very eyes. But Justin, as you're alluding to, the game was a bit of a slow starter, wasn't it? The first 20, 25 minutes, there wasn't much going on. And I was thinking to myself, oh, is it going to be one of them again? And then suddenly it just burst into life, didn't it? Loads of chances, mainly for Middlesbrough. Alex Palmer had a period where he made about 3 or 4 saves. He was a very busy boy, wasn't he? And then Ipswich get a penalty up the other end in the 43rd minute. Leif Davis being brought down by Callum Britton. First of all, did you think that was a penalty? I thought it was a bit soft.
I think it was, because I think when you're moving at momentum as Leif Davis was, it doesn't take much contact to clip you. I just think it was maybe a little bit clumsy and a little bit too tight from Callum Britton. So yeah, it was a penalty for me.
I couldn't really tell because it wasn't helped by the Sky cameras, not having a great replay of the actual incident itself. But there may have been a slight pullback from Callum Britton. I thought it was a bit soft. But Ipswich having a penalty saved, George Hurst being saved by Sol Bryn. And it was something that they would ultimately be made to pay for, Justin, because just a few minutes later, just before half-time, Cedric Kipre scoring a comical own goal after a low-driven cross by Delano Bergzug. What on earth was he doing, Justin?
I was laughing for a good 2 or 3 minutes after seeing this, because it's just one of them where you go, like, playing a lot of football as well growing up, and I was a defender, I've done that.
Yeah,
I've done that.
We've all been there.
You just don't adjust your feet quick enough. Your brain works quicker than your feet does, and unfortunately, I don't. It was harder to score the own goal than it was to actually clear the ball. I think that's the other funny thing about it. It was yeah. I feel for Cedric Kipre because it was literally just a brain fart moment. That's it.
I'm not sure it was even that. I think it was just really unlucky because I think 9 times out of 10 he clears that, but it somehow just kind of skips under his foot and then hits his standing leg. And for it to be Cedric Kipre who does it as well, who was, one of the big heroes from the East Anglian derby a couple of weeks ago, scoring the opening goal in that game. Yeah, it's quite the fall from grace from him, isn't it? It's very much 0-0 for old Cedric. Very upsetting for him. But then second half, the game gets under and it doesn't slow down at all. It really picks up from where it left off. Middlesbrough really going at it, hammer and tongue once again, and doubling their lead in the 55th minute through none other than Morgan Whittaker, scoring what I cannot believe was his first Middlesbrough goal after the ball fell to him from a cross. David Strelec may have been offside in the build-up, but either way, it was very, very tight. It may have been called off if it was VAR, but I don't think Morgan Whittaker cares, Justin. He's got his first goal. Ended up being the winning goal. We didn't know that at the time, of course, but it ended up being a massive moment for Middlesbrough in this game, and it's a massive moment for Morgan Whittaker, who's come under a fair bit of criticism, hasn't he, from Boro fans ever since joining, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the price tag, isn't it? He came for a fair fee from Plymouth, and obviously that's going to create a lot of expectation from supporters. And I think with Whittaker, if you don't hit the ground running and score goals early on in your stint wherever you go and you come for big money, it's always going to be difficult. It's always going to be difficult to recover from it. And yeah, as you say, it's taken him a bit of time to really get going. He's not impressed me at all in a Boro shirt, but I think in this game we saw the quality that he showed at Plymouth time and time again, and that's why he was linked with some big moves away, some big money moves away. But ultimately, I think with this one, obviously you go back to the Preston game earlier on in the season, not too long ago. Rob Edwards coming out having to not defend him, but just
he was defending him, really, wasn't he?
Well,
because
yeah.
he got jeered after being substituted, and Rob Edwards came out with a very passionate defence of him, saying, "We don't want that happening at this club." And you know why he's done it, because it's very upsetting for a player to go through. But it says a lot, really, about where Morgan Whittaker was at, that he was getting that much stick from his own supporters, and then having that moment afterwards where the Middlesbrough fans were chanting his name after scoring the goal. It must have been a really special moment for him.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's direct contrasts or good examples in this game of Morgan Whittaker with a couple of, I wouldn't say snatch shots, because I really do think he had a good game, but it could have been a better game from him, because there was moments where he just some poor execution on his shots and his footwork, and the Middlesbrough crowd, you heard the frustration, and I get that would happen with any player, but it just felt like it came across a little bit more, maybe because there is that previous with Whittaker. But Rob Edwards wanted a family feel at the football club. That's something that he put across in that video that he or that interview that he gave against Preston a couple of weeks ago, a few weeks ago, and you saw that. I mean, even when Whittaker came off, Adi Vivesh giving him a big hug and fans singing his name, you could feel the togetherness, and that's what I really think is the special thing coming out of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I cannot agree with you more. I think because we did see him in full flow, didn't we, at Plymouth a couple of seasons ago, where he was absolutely magnificent. He looked like such a marvellous player. And then since moving to Middlesbrough for £7.5 million, it's really not worked out for him so far. As I say, his first goal in bloody October now, Justin. He moved in January, so that goes to show how much he's struggled since moving there. Middlesbrough fans have not been impressed at all. And I think after, it was only small glimpses, but after scoring that goal, you could tell getting that goal made a world of difference for him. He had a good chance after that where he just put it past the post. I think he had another chance as well. That could make such a big difference for him going forwards for Middlesbrough, because if he can have his confidence back, he could be such a player for them. So yeah, it was a big moment for him, and it could be a big moment in Middlesbrough's season as a whole if it means Morgan Whittaker getting back to some sort of form. Ipswich after that were starting to try and put the pressure on a bit more. We even saw them get a corner after Sol Bryn held onto the ball for too long, which I think that's the first time I've seen that happen this season. Just about, I enjoyed it.
Definitely. We want to see more of it. It's a shame it's not an indirect free kick, but okay, a corner will do.
We'll take it. But if it means that goalkeepers have got to be on their toes, we see a bit of panic. Yeah, I'm all here for it. Ipswich getting the goal back in the 76th minute with Dar O'Shea pulling one back, heading home from a corner. And Ipswich were putting on the pressure after that. And Middlesbrough at times were a bit nervy, but at the same time, Ipswich didn't come particularly close to finding that elusive equaliser. Did they, Justin?
No, it was. And then it was all the way through the game. I think Ipswich showed moments of good away moments, if you like. I think if they could defend a lot better and a lot more effectively on the counter attack, this could have been a very good away performance. But they didn't. They were so soft. But equally, they didn't have any answers for Middlesbrough going 2-1 up. That was a disappointing thing. They struggled to gain control in that second half very early. Boro were running riot every time they counter attacked, and they just couldn't find a grip. And I think I'd argue that the likes of Marcelo Nunez maybe came on a little bit too late to have an impact on the game, because I thought Jens Kajust and Matasiwa in midfield was so poor, and a big reason why Middlesbrough, I think, were finding a lot of joy through the centre of the park and just cutting through them so often. They just didn't do enough. But equally, there wasn't enough going forward. I thought George Hurst was struggling to hold the ball up. Sammy Schmodix had bright moments but wasn't effective enough. Just too many players were not on it. And when you're going into the final 15 minutes with 2-1, when you're 2-1 down, and you didn't feel like you're going to get another goal, he could have played for another 20 minutes. I don't think Ipswich would have scored. It was that flat.
Yeah, we'll have a bit more of a deep dive into Ipswich's away struggles very shortly. We've got a comment here from the Duck Father. I can't wait to go and rewatch this game. Both teams showed their class. Yeah, absolutely right, Duck Father. You're going to enjoy rewatching that game. If you're watching this live stream live with us tonight, then please make sure you comment, and we'll try to read out as many as we can over the forthcoming minutes. But if you're enjoying today's show, then now is the perfect time to sign up for our second tier YouTube membership community for just £4.99 a month. You'll get custom emojis to use in these live streams and the comment section of every YouTube video. You also get access to the second tier Discord, where you can chat to us and loads of other Championship fans. And in addition to that, you'll get an exclusive video from us every single week. Just hit the join icon right next to the subscribe button to sign up right now. But Middlesbrough, Justin, Middlesbrough have gone top of the league, albeit for 24 hours, well, less than 24 hours, depends how Coventry and whoever gets on tomorrow, but they're going to be enjoying it. We heard the Middlesbrough fans chanting, "We are top of the league," after this game. And it begs the question now, because we were saying in the previous show earlier today that Middlesbrough had been dropping off, but now they've got this huge win over a very strong Ipswich side. Are they the real deal this season?
It's certainly a performance that makes you think that they are, because as I said, one of the things that Rob Edwards has introduced is really good game management, and we saw that here. I think, that 15-minute period in the first half where it was just pure chaos, sometimes you've got to embrace it, and I think there is a slice of luck with the opening goal. But the way Middlesbrough managed the game, I think in the second half, even before they got the second, they were brilliant. The way they countered, I've said several times already, on this show, that they look so effective, and I think if they can repeat that performance more often than not, they're going to beat a lot of teams. They're going to beat a lot of teams in this division. Defensively, they were solid. I thought Alfie Jones was terrific. I thought Dale Fry was brilliant as well. There's a lot of positives, I think, overall from that performance, that if they can repeat that, that's the sort of performance, if it is consistent, you do go, they are the real deal. But it's about following it up and following up again. That's the key thing with Middlesbrough, because it's a hard thing being consistent in this division, but if they can do it, and that's the performance, that's the marker, then things are positive.
Got a comment here from Jeff, who says, "I watched this game at work with a Boro fan, asked him, is it finally their year? He said it could be. I'm starting to believe," says Jeff. Richard says, "Remember when Ryan had Boro to finish 17th? All right, Richard. Bit unnecessary." But he goes on to say, "Really enjoyed us tonight, nullified Ipswich's superior quality and should probably have won by more." Yeah, not wrong at all, Richard. And as you were saying, Justin, Middlesbrough, 1 win in 5 heading into this. We had seen their performances drop off a level to a certain extent, and that's why I was predicting an Ipswich win heading into this, and even more so when I saw Odin Morrison was missing from the starting 11. I don't know why he wasn't in the starting 11, but he's such a big player for them, and I thought that may be something that really goes against them. But you're absolutely right, Middlesbrough were fantastic. They really did nullify everything that Ipswich had to throw at them, and I wasn't very impressed at all with Ipswich's attacking three in particular. But that's all down to Middlesbrough doing a job on them defensively, as you just echoing what you say, really. Alfie Jones and Del Fry at the back were unbelievably good, and then you had Hayden Hackney pulling all the strings in midfield. I think Alan Brown deserves a shout as well. Yeah, Hayden Hackney's someone we will always go on about. But I think the crazy thing is, when you look at Middlesbrough's attack, Alan Brown's in there. He's not really an attacker, is he? He's more of a ball-winning midfielder. But David Strelec was up front, their new £6.5 million striker. Otherwise, you've got Bergsaw, Conway, Hackney, Whittaker. 4 players who were all at Middlesbrough last season, but just look like they've taken things to a new level under Rob Edwards. And he's just really getting the best out of them, isn't he? I think it's interesting that, as far as I'm aware, this is the first time Middlesbrough have gone with a back 4 this season. They've been with a back 3 the entire campaign, and they've done that to match up against Ipswich's 4-2-3-1, and it worked an absolute treat, which just goes to show how flexible Rob Edwards is, and he's really getting a tune from this Boro side, isn't he?
Well, I don't know if one game, a formation change in one game is exactly flexible, but I get your
against
point.
The promotion favourites. Come on now.
I get your point. I'm just being an arse. But it is true, though. I know I was being facetious, but actually, what this does display is Rob Edwards' acumen tactically, that we've not seen enough of over the last 12 months. But at the same time, one of the positives and perks of Rob Edwards at Middlesbrough, I've said already, is the game management's brilliant. You mentioned the formation change to match up Ipswich and go man for man. It was a really, really effective performance. Alan Brown came in and he performed brilliantly in that midfield. Hayden Hackney had the most touches in the entire game, played the most passes into the final third. He's just a perfect midfielder. I said it in our preview show. Don't need to bang that drum. Everyone's going to get bored of it at some point. It was just a very, very effective performance, and it was all knitted together very, very nicely. And that front four was a constant danger. I know Bergdorf could have been better at times, but again, on our flanks, he was really, really exploiting the space in behind the Ipswich defence time and time again. Morgan Whittaker was finding himself in really good shooting positions, and Tommy Conway was busy and a nuisance. And Strelec, I thought, led the line really, really well as well. So there's so many positives to take, and as you said, that's a other than Strelec, there's a front three that was there last season. You compare that to the might of Ipswich and the money that they've spent over the past 2 years on their attack compared to, well, Boro spent a fair bit as well, worth mentioning. But the matchup there, Boro were far, far ahead of Ipswich here.
Got a comment here from Daniel. He says, when Hackney's on it, he's the best in the league. What a performance. You are not getting any disagreement in any form from me, Daniel. If you want to join us in the conversation tonight, make sure you leave a comment. We'll try to read out as many as we can. But yeah, absolutely right. Everything you say there, Justin. I think it's really exciting seeing Middlesbrough playing as well as they have done here, and to bounce back after what was somewhat of a drop-off in form against a very talented Ipswich side who have been picking up themselves is really exciting to see, and maybe it is their year. I think one concern I had for Boro was maybe a lack of depth in attack at the very start of the season, but since then they brought in the likes of Sfera Nipan, Kali Sen, got the new lad Sonche Hansen as well, who didn't even come off the bench in this game. So they've got loads of options, which you obviously need in a 46-game season. And while they've had a fantastic start, maybe it's something that they can sustain as time goes on, especially if they've got someone like Morgan Whittaker finding some form. There's just a lot to like about Middlesbrough based off these first few games. And getting a huge result over a very talented Ipswich side is always going to be going a long way to, providing evidence that they can be the team that sustain it and become an automatic promotion contender, at the very least a top six challenger, a strong top six challenger for the season. I think we'll get a better idea of Boro when we see them in the next few games, because as we were saying in the preview show, they've got some tough games coming up. Not so much Sheffield Wednesday in midweek, but Watford under a new manager. They've got Birmingham, they've got Leicester coming up on the horizon. So some tough games in there, but they've been brilliant at the Riverside Stadium this season. Got a huge win over a very talented Ipswich side. It's something very much for them to build upon. And Middlesbrough fans may very well be dreaming under old Robbie Edwards. I've got a couple of comments from Ipswich fans here. Chris says, this game should have been abandoned. The moon was in Kipre's eyes. That's why he missed it. Good point, Chris. Very good point. Got Horse Hollerer who says, well done to Boro. We have to show a bit more on the road, and we will. Yeah, that's something we were saying. Once it, Justin. Another poor result on the road for Ipswich. It's no win in 4 now. Technically should be no win in 5, really, because of that Blackburn game that was abandoned a few weeks ago. So it's another poor result on the road, and that's a concern we raised in the preview show. It's turned out to be coming to fruition again here.
Well, exactly. And when you're gunning for promotion, you need to be picking up points away from home. It's a no-brainer. How much criticism did Leeds come under at times under Daniel Farker for not picking up enough points on the road, or drawing too many games on the road, I should say. It can hold you back. It can really hold you back from being a fully dominating side, and that ultimately will put a lot of pressure on your home form, and you have to start to win every one, which, whilst is very nice, is it doable? Not for every team, no. And you've got to be a special team, but at the minute, Ipswich aren't. They're not showing that they are a special team. It's just disappointing knowing the quality that they do have, that they're not performing to a level they need to all round. Because you go away to the Riverside, you can't expect your attack to be on it. I feel sorry for Jaden Philogene. Whilst he wasn't at his true best here, Ipswich are finding themselves in a position where they're becoming a one-man team, and again, the amount of quality that they do have, that's not good enough. It really isn't. And I speak very, very sort of bluntly, defensively, shape-wise and out of possession, they're not good enough. And the amount of times Middlesbrough got through them, it's not good enough. And that in away performances, you need to be a lot more solid. You need to grind things out, and it just never felt like they were going to do that against Middlesbrough. And their away form is showing it. No winning force. It's not good enough. I'm not doom mongering. They need to be better, and unfortunately, the amount of money they have spent, they're going to be clubbed over the head with that time and time again this season. Because ultimately, you spend a lot of money, you've got to do well.
Yeah, in the time that you've just been speaking, Justin, I've been going back through the championship seasons. I've gone back to 2018-19 was the earliest I could go back in the minute or so that you were talking. And I was just looking at how many points the promoted teams, the automatically promoted teams, have won away from home each season. And every single season, the two promoted sides were in the top three for the most points won on the road each season. The only time that wasn't the case was in the COVID season when Watford somehow got promoted despite being eighth in the away table, which is some going. But it just goes to show that you have got to be winning games on the road. In Ipswich, that's just not been the case so far. No win in technically 5 is really poor. And this Middlesbrough game is by far the toughest challenge they've had on their travels so far. The other games they've had, yeah, you could make cases for them being difficult, but they're not anywhere near the same level as Middlesbrough. And the games really that Ipswich should be looking to win. And it's just not good enough, really. This game against Middlesbrough, I was just looking at that front three thinking they weren't getting in good enough areas. Jayden Philogene, we absolutely love, but he's not scored away from home this season and didn't really come close in this one. He was pretty anonymous from like the 30-minute mark onwards. Sandri Eagerly had a couple of chances here or there, but was pretty anonymous throughout the game. Sammy Schmodix did pretty well, to be fair to him. But George Hurst, they weren't utilising him enough, were they? The only shot he had in this game was from the penalty. And apart from that, I think he had the fewest touches of the ball for an Ipswich player. So you need to be getting those attacking players on the ball more and just linking things together a bit more, really, because they've obviously got the talent. We all know that. But if they're not getting in good enough areas, then what's the point?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of things I disagree on. I think I said it earlier on. Don't think George Hurst held the ball up well enough in this one. As I say,
no, I agree. I absolutely agree.
But likewise, I think Sammy Schmodix, as a number 10. Well, not as a number 10 because he doesn't play as number 10. He plays as a second striker, but he's not close enough to Hurst at times, and that was on display in this game. He just wasn't. He was busy but ineffective. And I think, and again, what I mentioned earlier was substitutions coming on sort of in the 66th, 67th minute. What Nunez coming on at that point probably was a little bit too late. I'd have made the changes straight after that Whittaker goal, just to give them a chance and a bit more in midfield. Likewise with Akpom coming on, didn't really do anything. Aslan didn't do anything. Jack Clark was ineffective. These players have got to step up when they come on. Because ultimately, like I said, if you're in a position where you need to be picking up points away from home, I don't think the subs other than Nunez did enough in coming off those players who didn't do enough either in the game. So what does McKenna do in his next game? When you talk about as well attacking players getting into good positions, is it how Ipswich are setting up away from home? I mean, formation-wise, it's the same, but what's the game plan? Or can it be down to mentality? If so, I mean, you go away from home in the Premier League, Ipswich are probably used to losing at that point. Has mentality changed a little bit? Has McKenna got to do a little bit more to get more out of these players? That's another thing we need to think about in the future.
Yeah, that's all completely valid. I think, kind of going on from what you were saying a bit earlier on, I think the midfielders of Kayuste and Matasiwa, they've got to be getting those attacking players involved a bit more because they're the ones who are looking to get on the ball and link everything together. And I don't think they necessarily did that as well. And it's a bit of a sour taste, really, when you've got Hayden Hackney, who Ipswich came so close to signing in the summer, absolutely running the show in this game. And if they had someone like him, then well, Ipswich will be a completely different beast this season. I'm absolutely sure about that. I don't think it's the end of the world by any means, because Middlesbrough are a good side. They've had a really good start to the season, and at home they've been phenomenal. And as time goes on, I'm sure Ipswich will be better on their travels. And you look at the table now, I mean, if you give them that, let's say the Blackburn game that they have is 3 points, then we'd be sat here right now talking about them sat third. So, it's no need to necessarily fret. But at the same time, the difference and contrast in their home and away form is really something that has to be better, because it's all well and good winning all your games at home. But as I say, as we were alluding to earlier, if you want to get automatically promoted, you've got to be winning games on the road as well. And that's something that they're really struggling with at the moment. Got a comment here from Ryan who says, we were awful again tonight. So slow, constantly giving the ball away. And we lost every battle, especially in midfield. Yeah, pretty much echoing what we were just saying there, wasn't it, Justin? Producer Tom, have we got a poll or what? Come on, mate. This is what you're getting paid for. Sort out a poll. For God's sake, Tom. Right, we delay and let Tom sort that out.
Just one more thing on that midfield comment, actually, because I think that's a really interesting thing, because it's just cast my mind back to Sam Morsey. Now, I don't want to reminisce and be nostalgic, but I look at Kayuse and Matasiwa, and there's no bite. There wasn't any bite in that game. When you compare it to someone like Sam Morsey, who's kicking shreds out of every single person he can lay his eyes on, that I think that's something that, especially in away games, is a very important factor you do miss. And again, when your midfielders aren't doing that, it's difficult. Like I said, Middlesbrough got through them so often. Just kick them, man. Just kick them. Come on.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I guess Kayuse and Matasiwa are definitely capable of kicking, but obviously not to the extent of Sam Morsey, who was a very good kicker. I think Kieran McKenna's obviously looked at it this season and thought Ipswich need to control games more, hence why he wants two ball players, someone like Hayden Hackney as well, who could really link everything up, because they're a very different beast now to the side who got promoted a couple of seasons ago. So that's obviously what he's thinking. But yeah, Kayuse and Matasiwa, while I have been impressed in certain games, in other games they haven't maybe got up to speed with the Championship so far. I think maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but we'll see. Sorry, I'm laughing at producer Tom giving me shit on the second tier running order right now. We finally got a poll, Justin. It's, will Middlesbrough win promotion this season? Yes or no? Go on, Justin. What are you saying?
I think yes. I think if they
really.
Yeah, no, I think they can. Okay. Oh, sorry, will they? Ooh.
I was going to say.
Will they? I think they've shown some really good game management, which is good for the playoffs, and they're currently sitting in the top two. So odds are in their favour.
That is such a diplomatic answer. It's also a massive cop-out. I think we need, for me, I need to see a lot more evidence, because we are only 10 games in. But from what I've seen so far, yeah, they have really, really impressed me, considering we were both pretty down on Middlesbrough at the start of the season. Just, I think the business in particular that they've done, most importantly keeping Hayden Hackney, but the business they've done in bringing players in as well, has definitely given me a lot of encouragement. And Rob Edwards has shown a lot of flexibility and shown that he's definitely got over last season's troubles with Luton. So yeah, a lot of positives to take away, and this is by far the biggest positive so far, because this is a massive result for Middlesbrough. It sends them top of the table for just over 12 hours at the very least. So that's very good stuff for Boro. So a huge result for them. Not a great result for Ipswich. Will they bounce back? We'll find out in midweek, won't we? But Justin, this has been us live streaming to the great British public and around the world after this fantastic result for Middlesbrough. We'll, of course, be back again on Sunday with our reaction to the rest of the weekend's action. So we look forward to seeing you all then for that. But big thank you for being watching on the live stream tonight. We'll be doing another live stream again very soon. Can't remember when it is off the top of my head, but stay tuned for updates on that. But this has been the Second Tier Podcast. I've been Ryan Dilks.
I've been Justin Peach.
And a big thank you for watching.